going within today. You're in my mind, I'ma be okay. A little love goes a long way. So I'm going within today. I'm going within today. You're in my mind, I'ma be okay. A little love goes a long way. So I'm going within today.
Welcome to Going Within. Before we begin, take a moment to arrive. If you can, gently close your eyes or soften your gaze. Take a slow breath in and slowly release it. Let your shoulders relax. Release any tension in your jaw. Let your body settle in. You do not need to rush this moment. Take another breath. And as you exhale, allow yourself to let go of resistance. Because sometimes growth begins in discomfort. And sometimes the very thing we try to avoid is the thing that leads us home to ourselves. Take one more slow breath. And when you're ready, let's go within. So you're listening to the Going Within podcast with Sheena C. This podcast is about self-awareness, healing, and learning to trust your inner voice. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about discomfort. And more importantly, why discomfort can actually be a doorway. Because guess what? The truth is, we often think that discomfort means something is wrong, but sometimes discomfort is actually a sign that something is changing. Okay, sometimes it means that something is growing. It could mean that something is shifting in your life. And in this episode, we're going to explore why discomfort feels so difficult and how it's connected to our growth, what it might be trying to teach us, and how to move through it with 100% awareness. So let's start here. Why do we avoid discomfort? Well, most of us naturally move away from anything that feels uncomfortable. It's human, right? We're humans. We seek comfort because comfort feels safe, it's familiar, and it's predictable, right? But when it comes to growth doesn't usually happen inside what's familiar. It tends to happen when we, step outside of what we know, outside of what we've always done, outside of our comfort zone. And think about a time in your life when you really grew. It probably didn't feel comfortable in the moment, but it might have felt uncertain, scary or confusing. But then later, when you look back, you realize it was necessary. That's because discomfort often marks the beginning of transformation. It's a signal that something is shifting. And you might start to feel, restless. Things that used to feel normal suddenly feels a little off. You might feel extra sensitive, emotional, or maybe even like on edge, right? You might feel uncomfortable in spaces, in conversations, or patterns that used to be your quote unquote normal. Now, that doesn't automatically mean something is wrong. Sometimes it means you're evolving. It can mean that you're outgrowing old patterns. Okay? It can mean that you're becoming more aware. that you're stepping into something new. And that quote unquote in between space between the old you and the new you is where discomfort usually shows up. It can show up emotionally, where you feel uneasy or more sensitive to what people say. You might feel overwhelmed or confused, or like you don't quite fit in the places that you used to. Now, those emotions are uncomfortable, yes, but they're also signals. They're signals that something within you is asking for attention. Okay? Now, I'll use myself as an example because we're growing together, right? So, me personally, I get very uncomfortable putting myself out there, like on the internet. I've wanted to do this podcast for over a year now. It was a podcast before, but I had a co-host, and now that I'm doing it alone, so I kept putting it off, and it feels uncomfortable for me to be on the internet, to be vulnerable, to speak to people I can't see, right? There's no eyes looking back at me. It's just me and my camera. I don't like recording videos of myself because it feels awkward to me. It's not that I'm afraid of people per se. I'm actually comfortable with people, speaking to people in person or even in a crowd, even though I can be a little nervous, but everybody gets a little nervous when they have to speak to a crowd. But what makes me really uncomfortable is talking to a camera, okay? Not having eye contact and being too in my head about it, like how I look or how I'm being presented to the public that that's not looking back at me. I start to overthink, and I want everything to be perfect, my hair to be right, and I don't look like an idiot. I judge myself, and I had to realize that this exact discomfort is where I can grow as a public figure. It's where I can grow as someone who wants to be a positive influence in this world, right? A spiritual positive influence, not just any influencer, okay? Just the spiritual aspect of it. And that's what pushed me to put out this podcast in the first place. Even though it felt uncomfortable, especially because I'm doing it alone, I had to move through the uncertainty and the fear, not wait for them to disappear and then do it. That's not going to happen. Right now, I'm also working on video shorts for social media, and that is still not comfortable for me. Okay. But if I hadn't pushed myself, my point is, if I hadn't pushed myself through this discomfort, you probably wouldn't even be hearing my voice right now. Not that I have a problem really speaking in audio, because I'm not looking at anyone, I'm just speaking in the mic. However, it can still be uncomfortable in certain aspects, So I'm sharing that because maybe you're noticing something similar. It don't have to be the same thing as me. Some people like the camera. They love it. They just want to be in the camera all day. But it could be something else. Maybe you're recognizing something you used to ignore. Maybe you're becoming more aware of your needs. Maybe you're seeing patterns that don't fit you anymore, or the person that you're aspiring to be, the future you. Emotional discomfort is often a call for us to become aware. And you can think of it like stretching a muscle, right? When you stretch, it can feel uncomfortable, but that stretch helps the muscle grow stronger. And personal growth works the same way. When you're growing, you may feel stretched, challenged, or even uncertain. But that's part of expansion. Discomfort isn't here to push you. It's basically growth in motion. Sometimes discomfort, shows up when you've outgrown things. You might outgrow certain types of conversations, environments that you used to be in don't feel very comfortable anymore, habits that you may have, or even thought patterns, thinking too negatively about everything, being a pessimist. What used to feel okay might start to feel heavy and confusing or just totally off. And that can feel scary, but it's also a sign of evolution. You're becoming more aware. You're becoming more aligned with yourself. You're becoming more yourself. And your authentic self holds the highest vibration that you can live from. So instead of instantly avoiding the discomfort, try getting curious about it, right? Ask yourself, what is this discomfort showing me? What am I learning from this feeling? What might be shifting inside of me? You don't have to force the answers. You just have to be willing to notice them. Discomfort can also get really loud, especially when we resist it. Resistance creates tension, but when you accept, and you say, okay, this is here, you create space. You create space for growth, for clarity, and space for you to change. And clarity does often come through discomfort. What happens is you start to see things differently. You understand yourself on a deeper level. You recognize what truly aligns with you and what doesn't. You see the contrast. Discomfort helps you grow into the awareness, and then the awareness is what helps you make new choices. So I want you to take a moment and reflect, right? Where in your life are you feeling discomfort right now? Is it emotional discomfort? Is it mental? Is it in a relationship, a habit, maybe a job, that role that you've been playing all along? Ask yourself gently, what might this discomfort be showing me? What might I be growing through? Right? There's no need to rush. Just notice it. Remember, awareness is always the first step. So in closing, I want to say this, right? I just want to say that discomfort is not always something to avoid. Sometimes it's something that you really need to pay attention to. You really need to listen to. Because discomfort often appears right before growth, right before you gain the clarity, right before you begin to transform into a more honest version of yourself. This week, when discomfort shows up, I challenge you to pause. Just pause. Take a breath and ask yourself, what is this doorway leading me toward? What is it? Okay? So that's all for today, guys. Thank you for spending this time with yourself. And if something in this episode resonated with you, I would like you to sit with it. You don't need all the answers right now. You just need your honesty with yourself. Okay? So until next time, keep going within. Thank you, love you, and namaste. See you on the next episode.
I'm going within today. You're in my mind, I'ma be okay. A little love goes a long way. So I'm going within today. I'm going within today. You're in my mind.